this global warming nonsense, and of course, I've read the articles from Rothschild's bank in Switzerland, their family bank, who wants the rights to, I think they got it actually, put all the carbon or energy taxes, they can call it both things now, through their bank. And that's for the whole of Europe and the world. That's an awful lot of cash to go through second by second, gathering interest and getting invested all over the world before it goes to where it's supposed to go. But that's total control. And one way or another, as I've said before, they'll get what they want because they don't make plans at that level. Since money runs the world, all of the world, including all the military and all of the acts of the military, is all to do with economics. And those guys at the top always get what they want because we allow it to be so. And your governments are just lackeys, just absolute lackeys to the monetary system. And they enable it too. And they know it darn well, the ones who are in it, by the way. But here's what's coming, and I've mentioned this since 2001, that all of the aspects of war must come forth now because that means food rationing eventually, gasoline, all energies, etc. Will all, a full war scenario, including people being moved from where they are to other areas. And that's, of course, the rural areas to the cities, because Agenda 21, the Millennium Project is truly rolling out all over the place now, little articles here and there. But in Britain, of course, it's a flagship for all of this to follow. And it says motorists now face the prospect of gasoline or petrol rationing. They call it petrol over there. So motorists face alarming prospect of petrol rationing as the latest weapon in the war against drivers. It emerged yesterday. The proposal has been made by an influential group of members of Parliament, that's prostitutes, which claims there is an urgent need for fuel use to be slashed to meet green targets. You see, well, these politicians will all be on the green board, you see, and they'll get backhanders. It's amazing how the money goes round in circles in those organizations. The scandal came as experts warned. Who's an expert in fuel? That said that the fuel prices could hit £8 a gallon due to increased taxes and rising crude oil prices. Under the move, all adults will be given a set number of free energy tokens. Now that's how they kicked off the carbon market in Europe, which would be offset against any fuel burnt in a vehicle or at home. Or at home, remember that part, or at home. But critics slammed the plan, and this is just the usual dialectic they give you in these stories. But critics, you always get critics, slammed the plan as absolute lunacy and said the controversial proposals would hit already stretched drivers' pockets. So they always tell you the truth, but nothing happens. And then the Royal Automobile Club, that's the RAC over there, the foundation, it's a big foundation, has warned that fuel could hit £8 a gallon, $1.75 a litre in parts of the country after it emerged that some gasoline stations in the Orkney Islands are charging £1.50 a litre. The all-parliamentary group on peak oil made the bid for weekly fuel quotas already. The group of 20 parliamentarians from the main parties argued that limiting what drivers consume would deal with global energy shortages and the climate crisis. Now, number one, we're back again. Should we feed the world? Blah, 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 blah. How come we suddenly stop feeding ourselves? We've got to feed the world. And we've got to make sure that China gets enough gasoline since they've set it up to be the manufacturer for the planet, right? I can remember I used to travel across the North Sea in the ships to Norway and Denmark and different places. And I used to meet people, executives who were working for British Petroleum and Shell and all, and as they were drilling all over the North Sea, and they were just putting these things up everywhere. And in the late 70s, I was told by about 3 or 4 of them on separate occasions that they'd found enough oil there to keep Britain going for a couple of 100 years. And they were still going like crazy, finding new pockets all the time. That was still the early days. But reality doesn't matter, because you see there's a different agenda behind all the rationing stuff. Is to bring in the new society, the big society where, well, you can walk to where you want to go because you won't be allowed to walk much further outside your little area. And anything else will be used, you'll be using under Agenda 21 public transportation, because you see that's already been decided. And anyway, it says the committee has proposed a weekly electronic energy rationing system called TEQs, TEQs, tradable energy quotas, that would be distributed for free to all adults. That's how you kick it off, you see. Any extra units can be bought while surplus units can be sold. They claim the system would work like a credit card and be as easy as topping up an Oyster card or mobile phone. No kidding, eh? 1 unit represents 1 kilogram of carbon dioxide. What a joke, eh? What a joke. So the amount of emissions produced by gasoline would be deducted from a TEQ account. And of course then you could sell your excess, which you won't have, and then they'll reduce the quota every year. God, we're just like animals getting trained, isn't it? Trained step by step into the abyss. They're such liars. But again, they're using psychology again, and they've got lots of psychologists and teams all working with their prompts and so on, and their little buzzwords and catchphrases and slogans to get us to where they want us to be, in a straitjacket, basically. Starving to death. Back with more after this break. Hi folks, we're back in Cutting Through the Matrix, talking about the coming energy taxes, basically. And if we don't like carbon, they'll give you energy taxes instead, you see. Whatever they call it doesn't really matter. It's all the same con game. And no doubt from the same author, in fact. And they do have authors who come up with all this stuff, and whole think tanks that come up with terms, etc., to get the agendas through. But they go into the usual dialectics, as I say, and even the Automobile Association goes into it's ridiculous. The academics' brainwaves is typically out of touch with reality and so on, and all that stuff, the usual stuff. But what choice do the public get when it comes to it? Well, the choice is to stop driving altogether and watch the stations close and bring the country to a halt. That's a choice you do have. At one time, they would have actually, even during the miners' strike, there was far more support for what was going on, and there's just nothing left in them today. There's nothing, they can take anything that's dished out to them. Then they're going to say that people will be allowed to trade units they don't use, which as usual will hit the lower income driver who becomes priced off the road. And you will get these silly little fools that do scratch and win tickets that think they can save them up. I'll get wealthy on this. I'll get wealthy on this. It's silly little idiots that they are. There's always a few in the lower end of the IQ level that they jump in on this kind of stuff. And really that's what it's designed for, the whole idea of it. Maybe I can save them up and get cash back by trading them like football cards. And it says it would be open for abuse by greedy individuals and politicians. Well, no. Greedy individuals and politicians. What a thought, eh?